So, yes, my name is Midori Paxton. I'm heading ecosystem and biodiversity work at UNDP, that's United Nations Development Program. And good morning to all of you. And it's lovely to meet you all today because I believe we have quite a lot in common. So how many of you were in Montreal in December for the Biodiversity COP15? I see maybe 6, 7, great. I was there too, and one of the most impressive things for me was that there were over 1,400 participants from business and finance sectors, which was unprecedented for a biodiversity gathering. And I'm sure if you are not there, you might have heard of the historic outcome. That was the 196 parties to the convention accepted that we are facing a genuine extinction and nature crisis. And to address this, they have agreed on the global biodiversity framework with concrete 2030 targets, which includes a range of finance-related targets as well. So how many of you are passionate about your work? I think lots of you are working in this forestry biodiversity field. I'm glad lots of hands are up because really I'm one of those who are very lucky because I love my job. Nature conservation is not really a job for me. It's my life work because this is about securing well-being and lives, and securing our future, and securing our economies and societies. So it's really important, and I want to be in this business. And wouldn't you agree? Like, nature is simply amazing and beautiful, like this photo, which I took last year in Costa Rica, when hundreds of thousands of turtles came ashore at the same time. So let me now play a 2-minute video which explains UNDP's mission on nature.
Biodiversity is interconnected, intertwined, and indivisible from human life on Earth. Its loss impacts all our global systems, upon which we depend. We cannot survive without fresh air, a stable climate, or pollination. Yet we do not disincentivize actions that degrade them. Instead, we subsidize harmful agricultural practices by $500 billion a year. Now we are falling badly short of goals repeatedly set. And the time horizon is closing in fast. Incrementalism and logic alone is failing us. Breakthroughs will be at points of shared values and common priorities, where we align environmental interests with development interests. At UNDP, we are forging new narratives, partnerships, and solutions to trigger systems change and shift incentives behind a nature-positive trajectory. At stake is the legacy of our generation and the futures of the next. We are all counting on nature for a thriving future on a healthy planet.
So, we are all counting on nature for a thriving future. So at UNDP, we manage a portfolio of nature conservation projects in over 140 developing countries. And what we have learned over the decades is that without redirecting flows of private finance for conservation and nature positive production, we will not be able to fill the biodiversity finance gap of at least $700 billion per year. So we are increasingly working with private sector to incentivize nature positive investments and facilitate pipeline of opportunities for investment. And we are also helping create regulatory traffic rules to avoid greenwashing, working with standard setters and regulators. So ways to ensure successful investment in conservation are often country-specific and also location-specific. And it's defined by a variety of geographical, ecological, cultural, political, legislative norms. And so what we want to see in your investment is to increase ecological value, or at least achieve non-decline of ecological values in areas you are investing in. And so I'd like to touch upon 3 key factors for successful investment. I think many of you are from finance sector, and I never thought I would be talking to investors on successful investment tips, but here we go. The first factor is the importance of landscape planning, accounting for ecological thresholds. Natural capital is not replaceable by human or produced capital. Companies and regulators need to recognize this as a fact. This assumption is called strong sustainability in ecological economics. Its fundamental premise is that economic system is embedded within social system, which is in turn embedded within the ecological system. The logic is very simple. Natural capital should be used at a rate that allows it to regenerate naturally, or perhaps with a bit of human assistance. And this is how we would define a nature-positive economy. This means any nature-positive investment need to ensure that activities within a given landscape cumulatively do not exceed ecological thresholds. If you're investing in nature-positive activities, for example, restoring oyster fisheries within the landscape or within the seascape, you would need to ensure that there are no other investors, public or private, investing in nature-negative activities, such as building a water purification plant with no proper effluent management, because it threatens ecological integrity of your landscape and nullifying your investment. So after all, without the landscape approach, you cannot really judge whether your investment is nature positive, neutral, or negative over time. So in order to demonstrate the integrated approach and integrated landscape approach and definition of ecosystem threshold, UNDP is embarking on Tiger Recovery Bond pilot as a special purpose vehicle bond to finance nature-positive production and businesses in selected tiger landscapes in Southeast Asia. We are promoting a similar approach in other continents as well. So for this, we very much welcome collaboration with corporates and investors interested in the landscape approach. UNDP is establishing the Nature Facility to support creation of and application of nature-related financial instruments on the ground. And our Biodiversity Finance Initiative, which operates now in 41 countries, soon we are supposed to add 90 more countries, also support implementation of a range of financial solutions, including private sector financial instruments, as well as other type of sort of reduction of negative finance, for example, negative public finance, such as agriculture and fisheries subsidies. We also have the Global Fund for Coral Reefs, which is a blended finance mechanism with a grant component and investment components within the fund. So these are some of the possible collaboration mechanisms we have. So the factor two is factor two for successful nature investment is respect for resource and land rights holders. Whether you're a bank considering an impact loan or a corporation interested in purchasing biodiversity credits, who is managing your project on the ground and how it's managed will be one of the most important factors for your decision making. So you would want to ensure efficiency and integrity of your investment. Efficiency, you'd like to ensure quality of biodiversity and ecosystem management activities in line with agreed conservation, social, and economic objectives of the landscape where you're investing. Most commodities are grown in areas which harbours critical biodiversity and with presence of local and indigenous communities. In fact, you might have heard indigenous people occupy, own, or manage 50% of land surface, excluding Antarctica, which harbours 80% of global biodiversity. So respecting local knowledge translates into higher impacts from your investment. Therefore, the rights and the experience need to be fully considered in your business model. And integrity. We need to prevent any corruption and wrongdoing in transactions. From the integrity point of view alone, engagement with local communities and indigenous peoples is also in the interest of investors. This is because countries with large pool of natural resources with weak governance suffers from illegal resource extraction, which is fueled by corruption. So it is very important that investors recognize that need to work out model of engagement with those who currently live on the land and know how to manage it. I would say this is the only way to prevent leakage effect. I think you are all probably involved in the carbon financing as well. That is, your support for conservation actions is negatively offset by moving overexploitation elsewhere. And therefore, this is the only way to trigger the true permanence of the positive impact sought through your investment. Here, I'm not really talking about the people or investors from New York going to meet indigenous community leaders and negotiate. There are already many organizations, including UN organizations and international and national local NGOs working with communities on the ground. So therefore, forging alliance with these organizations make most sense. This aspect is critical for emerging nature-related instruments, such as natural asset companies by the Intrinsic Exchange Group, or emerging methodologies in the area of voluntary biodiversity credit, which I understand will be discussed extensively in this conference. So the Biodiversity Credit Alliance, BCA, which UNDP also helps to facilitate, has a dedicated community advisory panel. And through it, we will be connecting communities and prospective investors. factor 3 for successful nature investment is role of spatial data in facilitating nature governance decision making. Deciding on the best governance model for your investment depends on knowledge of current land use and land tenure. Remote sensing and nature tracking technology can play a major role in facilitating these decisions on best forms of natural resource governance. So spatial tools such as on the screen, ARSET, Earth Engine, UN Biodiversity Lab can be instrumental in defining threshold and tipping points and setting up areas of high conservation value in specific areas and for specific commodity value chains. This will help address, for example, the need of the palm oil companies to define thresholds of priority ecosystem and mapping low integrity and high importance ecosystem to different standards such as HCV and various certification standards. Companies are also encouraged to join the TNFD, Data Catalyst. TNFD stands for Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, which we are also supporting. The Data Catalyst aims to bring together the nature data providers to seek ways to address multiple data gaps. And also nature tracking instruments such as cyber trackers, Earth Ranger, involve local and indigenous communities in tracking species and ecosystem conditions on the ground, allowing data to be transmitted and collated. This is a promising development given it has double impact of providing data and local employment at the same time. So we are all passionate people here trying to move money that will be good for people and for the planet. I hope that 3 key factors for successful conservation-oriented investment are useful for your deliberations in this forum, also for your daily work as well. To recap, these 3 factors are importance of landscape planning, respect for resource and land right holders, and role of spatial data. Science and technology, alongside with respect for human rights, are the foundation of conservation investment decision-making. UNDP, through its presence on the ground, is committed to support these objectives to help facilitate better investment in our planet, and working with all of you and other stakeholders outside of this room as well. Thank you very much, and good luck with your day.